a todos.
Hello, welcome again to my workshop, which will take a few minutes. My name is Marta Friado. My colleagues, Carlos Rodriguez and Maria Jose Bravo, we work for the international journal Mapping, and we work for the company GS Mapping. I would like to say thank you to gvSIG for their invitation to participate in the conference via the magazine or the journal, and for inviting us as a company focused on geographical intelligence. This is our workshop, gvSIG workshop applied to the environment. We are not going to tackle or approach the environment as such, but we shall see how gvSIG allows us to handle geographical data applied to the environment. I hope you will enjoy it. It's a tiny course. In fact, it is a summary of a training course which you can find on the gvSIG platform. We are now on the first edition. I suppose next year we will have a second edition of the course, of the training course, which, as I said, is already underway on the platform. If you have any doubts, please stop me at any time, and my colleagues are going to take over now. This tutorial cannot be downloaded now, but in the next few days it should be made available on the website for you to download it, and the recorded course. The data are already posted on the blog. Do you all have it? Do you all have the information on the workshop? Yes? If not, we will give you the address of the gvSIG blog in a minute. My name is Carlos Rodriguez. This workshop is about 4 main practices. 2 areas will be developed by myself, and the other 2 will be covered by my colleague. Okay, let's start with task number 1. The analysis of ZEPAS, ZEPAS, and natural parks, and to identify areas with bird protection, ZEPAS, and natural parks. Let's start. Let's open gvSIG first. We generate a new view. I don't know your level, but I suppose that after the previous workshops you are quite familiar. Properties. I'm using version 1.11. Current projection 23030. If you want to change the projection, just click on this button, and it's either you choose recent ones or you go to EPSG and then select it. Once you have your reference system for your view, you can open the view and you start downloading the ZEPAS, or uploading in this case, the ZEPAS layout or layer, sorry. ZEPAS is areas with special bird protection. Open layer, add a file. You find the ZEPAS layer. It's on the same projection. I suppose you know it, but you must know the reference system of your layer at all times because it needs to be specified at the bottom here. 23030. Sometimes you don't know the reference system. As you know, the ZAPE consists of a number of files, and you can find the reference system of your file. Add. Well, first, OK. And then you start seeing them all the CEPAs, all the bird protection areas. You click on the area, and you can see the characteristics of each layer. You can change the symbology by double-clicking on the current symbology or using the right-hand button on the mouse. Properties, symbol, selection. We're going to change the color, brown, and we set it at 55% clearness with a gray shade. Select it, apply, and we can now see these CEPA areas. They are all over Spain, as you can see from previous inquiries in previous workshops. People asked where the data came from. So I'm going to tell you about spatial data infrastructures. I don't know if you are familiar with them. These infrastructures are responsible for compiling data, metadata, and services for all this data to be used. The node for spatial data infrastructures in Spain include a lot of services. I don't know if you know them, but the main three services are here. The web map services. The web map service allows you to view an image of the data included in that particular service. The service sheets offers you other information pieces, and the last service provides you with images. Feature services give you the geometries, and WMS is both for raster and coverage. It gives you back an image without the data. So let's try it out with a web map service. You can go to this website, www.idii.es, web services. You can find a section here which is called Service Directory. And in the directory, we choose state services published nationally. There are different types of services here. Viewing services, which is just to view data, WMS. Then you have location services. These services offer catalogs including different metadata from the data published on the IDEE. And this allows you to carry out different searches, and you can find the associated information, in other words, the metadata. Downloading services, WCS. They can be downloaded because all these geometries you can actually download. Transformation services plus other services. We're going to download our viewing service. State services, Ministry of Civil Works, and here we have the basic map of Spain. This is the URL for the service. Let's go back. And for our WMS service to be installed, which is what I'm doing now, I need to click here, Add. But instead of uploading it through the archivo file, I select WMS. No, that's for finding the basic map. This is the address for that web service. You are on the IDEE website or page. There is a catalog on it with most of the services. In Spain, the services are divided into viewing services for you to view data only, location services in case you need a particular piece of information, you don't know where it is, you can find it here, downloading services in case you want to check a piece of information or download it onto your computer instead of just viewing it. What we're doing now is working with a WMS to view data as a background layer. Right, here we go. Ministry, National Geographic Institute, and we can see that one of the published services is the basic map of Spain. Let's go back to gvSIG now. We're going to install this service on gvSIG. We select Add Layer. Instead of choosing a file, we choose a WMS. You are asked for the address of the server, which is here. You select it and copy it and paste it in the box. Connect. I don't know if you are familiar with web services. gvSIG is connecting to the server, launching a request, asking what type of information do you have and what features does that information have, and this is what you're given back, all this information. Or once we have all the information, we press on Next, and you are shown again the information of the service. Next. And now we can see all the layers on the basic map. It's got a lot of maps, as you can see. One of the features of this service is that it is one of the very few services that complies with all the technical specifications. Yeah. That's the advantage of not having all data physically on our computer. We can gain access anywhere just by entering the address of this service, which is what we did. We copied and pasted the address, and we now have access to a lot of layers. Right, we want to have a background map. Well, you could choose any, but I'm going to copy or install this one. To do so, I tell the service the layers I want to be given back as an image. These are my choices: elevation, shading, and I choose shading for the Spanish Peninsula and the Balearic Islands. Add, and as you can see, they are here in the bottom box. They have to be there, otherwise you won't get them. You keep moving on, next, and now you choose the style, the way you want to view the layers. For the province layer, you are given 3 styles: province style, administrative unit style, and the default administrative unit style. I'm going to leave it the way it is. And the last step is to tell the server what image we want to be given back, the format of the image. We select PNG and then the reference system. This is our view, 23030. After this, once all the parameters are entered, gvSIG can launch the inquiry onto the server and be returned the layers for the image to be given back to come on a PNG format. Did you get an error? I don't know why I got an error. You did? It takes some time, though. Well, you should get this type of image on your laptops. Can you see it? Yeah. You get an error, but you get the image in the end. An image of the published layer on double I, sorry. And now you can see all these areas with special bird protection. Any doubts so far? Let's continue with another layer, one for natural spaces, natural areas. We go to File, Add, Natural Parks. 23030. Okay. We change the symbology. You can choose the color. I chose green. And now you want to see the areas that were catalogued as both bird protection areas and natural parks with their intersections. And for an intersection to be completed, we are going to use sextante, which is here, this icon. You can now see all the algorithms. The layers can be applied to carry out different geographical analysis. We're going to choose polygon layer tools, and here we find intersection. And you see a window describing this process. With sextante tools, we can do a polygon operation. So we unfold this list, we pull it down. One of the operations is intersection. You double click on it and you get a wizard where you have to enter the two layers. Layer 1, CEPA. Layer 2, Parques Naturales, natural parks. Next, we tell the system where we want the layer to be saved. Intersection, CEPAS, Parques Naturales, natural parks, and save. You have the address name and the file format to be saved. After all the settings are set, we start the intersection process for all polygons. It takes a while. In the meantime, I'm going to tell you the next step we're going to take to install a phenomena service for you to see the difference between map and phenomenon services. The first one is for images, and the latter one is for geometries, for all published data. The services, as I said earlier, are here in the downloading section on IDII. And it's here, Virtual Atlas of Bird Fauna in Spain. Are you all with me? Do you want me to repeat either of the steps? Yeah, I'll start again. Yeah. Okay. Right. This is the website of ITII. You go to the service directory, web services, service directory, and as I said, they are classified into different blocks: viewing, web map services, and downloading, which is what we're doing. They are called downloading services because you actually download our service. So we go to downloading, and then you go to the Higher Council for Research, and you choose the Virtual Atlas of Spanish Birds. We're still waiting for the intersection, which will allow us to see the common areas. Yeah, intersection you find on Sextante. You enter Sextante and you go to Tools for Polygon Layers, and then you go to Intersection. You double click on it and you select Layer 1 and Layer 2, cepas and natural parks. You specify the name of the file and where you want to save it, and you click on OK.
¿Vale? Tarda un poco porque son muchos polígonos.
Oh, no. Lots of polygons. Every time you zoom on an area, or every time you move the picture, you are actually creating a new inquiry, so it takes longer. These are cepas, and these are the areas with both a zepa and a natural park, the overlapping or intersection. Did you get an error? This is what you should get. Are you with me? This is a previous project. If you noticed, there is some shading, which I did before, and the names of the provinces. It does not only do the intersection by checking the associated information associated to the polygons. You are given all the information on both layers for which an intersection has been requested. So you have the intersection between the layers and also the features on the intersections. I'm about to finish now. So this is the project. You are given the areas which are both cepas and parque naturales, natural parks. Let me change the symbology. Red, 60% clearness. Are you all here? Let me explain how we deal with the other surface. WGS for phenomena. As we did earlier, this is the address for the server where our WPS is hosted. And as we did before, we now go for WFS. You click on the tab. Same wizard or assistant. URL for the server. Yes, the address. Services, service directory, downloading. Higher Council for Scientific Research, and you find it there. You copy the address and you paste it here on the server box. Connect. And as I said earlier, gvSIG has actually made an inquiry with the server. And this is information it is given. It tells you that the service is the virtual atlas of birds in Spain, a few more technical details, and then in next you are shown the layers on the server.
De mapa de distribución de aves.
We are going to load the layer of the map, the distribution map for birds. After I can repeat the process if you want. And then we are going to load the geometry and all the types of birds that we have so that it returns to us the number of birds that you have in that area. And we can limit a maximum number of features. A filter, as in this case, we are going to have direct access to the data, and then we can say we only want the ACAR data which are less than 10, for instance, and this is one of the features provided by this service. Once we have selected everything, then we accept, okay, yes. And it loads a grid in which we have the number of birds. I'm going to change the symbology, blue. Violet. Did you finish the intersection process? I'm going to repeat how I did loaded this service, adding layer on WFS. In WFS, we input the name of the server. We select connect, and it returns the associated information. And we are going to select the layer that includes includes this phenomenon map, which is in the Bird's distribution layer. It shows the geometry and all the features of the layer, and we say okay, and this is the result. Perhaps it can appear as an image, but if you check the table, then you will see which is the information contained in those data. This is a flat image which is not going to return the properties of this. So here you can see that we are having access to data. We can do a zoom. We can zoom this area, and we have detected that this is a natural park and a special area for bird protection, and we can ask questions and identify which are the birds where we do not have, which is the highest number, which birds are predominant in that area, which birds do not exist or are in small numbers in that area, and others. Do you have any doubts about this? Could you load the layers? Were you able to load the layers? Yes. I know. Should I continue? No doubts? Sorry, but the sound is not reaching us, and we cannot translate. Well, there can be different reasons. It could be the server, and it could be any other reason. I know. There are so many different reasons. It doesn't let you? If you have no doubts, then I'm going to go to the next exercise. The next exercise is not just being connected to a map service, but what we are going to do is that based on some themes, we will add the geographical component to those data. We minimize and we are going to open a new window. As before, we are going to select the same reference number that we have selected before, which is 23030. Okay, we accept and we open the new list. We are going to load for you to see. This is exercise 2. And then we are going to load a shape of vegetation series. And this will take the features of the table vegetation DBF. So then, first of all, the save, and we are going to add layer file, and then we load the CH save, and the system for referencing this layer is exactly the same. In order to have a reference about where we are, then we can load the service. You will have this indicated here. Then we connect to the service. Following one. Now we are going to select the layers. You can indicate either the same layers as before, or you can select others. So I'm going to indicate shadow and the administrative units. Once these layers have been selected, we'll select the following one. Here we are going to leave the style as it is, and the format in PNG and 23030. It's saying that there is an error, but in fact it's loading it, so no problem. I don't know why it's saying that there is an error here. Do you follow me? Are you with me? Well, I have loaded the administrative units of the different regions, municipalities, and provinces, and then I I put in shadow the Balearic Islands. I know it's saying error, but after it doesn't indicate which kind of errors. I had it here already loaded. And now here, well, it takes some time, and perhaps due to the response not being instantaneous, this can be the reason. Then we increase this vegetation layer. We remove, in my case, two of the services that I had loaded. You have to be patient because think that this is a constant communication with the service. So I'm sending a query and it's returning the answer, and this is a slightly slow process, but it's loading it. And we're going to change the symbology of the vegetation series and transparency of 60%, for instance. As you can see, this is from the area of Navarre, and we are going to load information that we had in the database. It was stored or in a file. We are going to load the table with the theme information in gvSIG. We select New, Add, and we're going to select the table where we have the information that we want to link to the vegetation layers. The file is called vegetación, and we accept OK. It shows the table.
¿Me seguís todos?
Are you with me?
Abrimos la vista.
We open the view.
Una vez abierta la vista,
Once the view is open, we open the table from the layer vegetación. And we are going to join the table that we have loaded and the vegetation layer. In the icon, join. Well, before, in order to join both the shape and the other layer, of course, one of the columns should be the identifier, so that the gvSIG may make a correspondence between the table and the layer. In this case, will be ID series, and in the table also ID series. So through this common field, gvSIG will be able to identify the different geographical areas in order to do the linking and include all the information in this layer. As we said, we open the table, join, then we have a table joiner, and we use the ID series field in order to do that. The prefix of the field, we're going to put V from vegetation. And we want this to be joined with the features table, vegetation features table, and the ID series. So we indicate a feature name in order to identify the columns or the features of each one of the tables. And once we have indicated this information, then we say end. As you see, we only had an additional column, which is the VT series, where it indicates the name of each of the areas of vegetation. So selecting these have been selected in the view. We select the layer. We open the table. The attribute sample. I have already done the merging, and there is an icon that says join. We select join, and then we have the wizard. We indicate origin table. We are going to join the shape of vegetation. We indicate the vegetation shape and the identifier so that the gvSIG joining can be done. A prefix of the field, whichever you want, and then you select the table and then the identifier and the prefix that you want to have. Once this is indicated, then end. It's okay. And the result is the merging. If you consult the zip, you can see how the whole information of the table is now merged. This is very useful, especially with the information of the INE, as far as there is a lot of information, but it's not a geographical one. For instance, we use this through the INE code. You can link each municipality through the INE code, loading the population map, the census, for instance, feminine, male, female, and this would become geographical information, and you can carry out different reports and analysis using this. Any doubts? Could you reach the table link? Yes. So everything is okay? Should we go to the next exercise? I'm going to leave you with my colleague, and she's going to explain the next exercise. Well, along those practices, we have seen how can we call information coming from WMS, external information, external to our computer. How can we load it? We have seen how we can do an intersection in order to compare the information of two different layers. In this case, the natural parks, and in which areas both were matching, and based on a layer with geographical information which only had one identifier and data of the polygon length and surface. How could we gather this together with another table in which we only had geographical information, how they were intertwined, and how could we extend the information provided but this original geographical layer. In the next exercise, we are going to do something but applying a previous filter. We are going to open a new view, and we are going to start and work with a new set of data. We are going to open a new view. We're going to start with data from the floor, from the ground. I'm going to change this in order to easily identify it, and we're going to load the layers, the data from the workshop. This is we're speaking about this layer. Yes. Well, I just wanted to mention, sorry, but the sound is not reaching us. Sorry about this. For this exercise, as I mentioned, we are going to use the ground layers and soil layers, and we are going to compare the type of floor and the relationship with vulnerability that depends on different factors like the slope, and I have sent that for analysis. And I think the score is 1 to 5. The scoring. Rounds. We have the vulnerability layers. In this case, both were loaded with the same typology. In order to facilitate the display in the vulnerability, I'm going to open the features table. And we have identifier of the object, perimeter, vulnerability, and a code. In the code, we see that they are classified in very high, medium, low, or very low, high. And instead of having a single symbology, I'm going to assign this depending on this code table. So With the right button, I get into features of this layer, and in Simbología, we have different levels, quantities, categories, and I'm going to select unique single values within categories. And here we see that we can choose a classification field. I'm going to choose the one of code. And I'm going to say that it should add all the values existing there. Then we see the four values, high, low, medium, or very high.
En este apartado podemos escoger también el...
Here we can add colors, or we can add, for instance, color codes of the traffic light type, where we can put red, amber, and green, or orange. And then we will see how this information is distributed. The same thing we could do with the soil layer, the land layer. We get into the properties, we select single values, and we add all the values of the code. We click here, adding all. And before this was limited to 4, but now we have much more values. Now the vulnerabilities layer, we see the different types of land which are shown. We can compare here in a specific type of soil. We are going to put a filter here where the type of soil may be calcareous and has a very high vulnerability. For that, we can do this in different ways, but in this case, we are going to use a filter. We are going to select all the soil which is calcareous, then all the areas which have a very high vulnerability, and these two sets of data, we are going to do an intersection of them, and we will obtain only the areas which are of the type calcareous fluviasol and which have a very high vulnerability level. For the filter, we can select the layer and use the tool of filter, which seems to be a funnel. Then a calculator opens up.
Aquellos que tengan código.
Select a code. We do a double click to send it to the lower part, which is equal to very high. And we're going to say that with those data, it should do another set. As we see, they have been selected in yellow. The selected data are those which appear here in yellow. And we are going to do the same thing with the soil layer or ground layer. Here we see we make it in black, and after here in the description we will select all those which have fluviasol, calcareous fluviasol, and that shows a new set with this new layer. Once we have selected the data set, we are going to do the intersection of both of them. So we come back to these polygon layers, and we will do a real intersection. In this case, it should be the extension of the land should be less, and we are going to select land and vulnerability, or soil and vulnerability. There are different ways to do this process. In some cases, you can join this and then you can filter and obtain the results. In each layer, as far as these are different layers, no, you can select the elements of each layer in each layer. If you would like to make a selection in one layer, then instead of new set, you would say add to an existing set. Once we have the intersection, then we can see which areas have these features, both in high vulnerability and fluvial. Perhaps once we have all data, we should communicate it because both variables together, perhaps they mean that in case of flood, this area is more at risk than others. So then we have to monitor this in order to avoid possible problems that may arise. So you see it has created a new layer with the intersection. I'm going to switch off the previous ones in order to leave only the areas in which we have the proposed feature. In such a way that we see that from the previous selection it has cut the lower layer. And then once we have those data, perhaps we want to prepare a report in order to present it somewhere. So we are going to see how can you do that in a speedy way so that you can write such a report. So then in order to have some reference, I'm going to load the map from air. I don't know whether you still have the address. If not, if we go to WMS, tells us the last server that we added, and if we click in the rollout, then we see what we have been doing in the last works, in the last jobs we have been working with. In this area, we have the basic map, the summary of the service, and within those layers, I'm going to just to our municipalities and provinces in order to have the toponymia of the area, and then they go to the lower part, and I click on the next button. I leave the defect style that comes with the service. And as far as we are asking for WMS, it's an image. I'm going to choose another one that allows us to have transparency. And in the reference system, the same thing. I'm working with the layers. In this case, 23 by 30. Once I have everything selected, then I'm going to accept. I have the whole toponymia. For the layout of the map, the best option is to minimize the view, and in the project manager we have three types of documents: view, table, and map. In our case, we could open a new map. We add a new one, and then we would have the area of the map. We can define whether this is A3, A4, whatever, the type of map that we want to obtain. We can also include in the features the size of the mesh, of the grid if you want this in a design mode. And we are also changing the page. We have the features of the page with the printer. Once we have defined the type of fields, the size, then we are going to start with the elements of the map.
We're going to use the buttons here on the toolbar to add the previous view, or to include our localizer, the caption, the map scale, the north point, and the box for our data and other details concerning the map. Okay, let's start with the view. We first draw a rectangle. We can have different open views, so we identify the one we want to include on the map. If we want a fixed scale, we would choose one now, the map scale. And if we want to change it or do zooming, we would just leave it. So here it is. I can minimize it now and open the view. The information on the view is now on the map. And we can have different designs. It's up to you. For example, I'm going to have the north here. You can choose a location, and you're asked what type of north you want. Is the caption. In this case, we are asked the view we are working with, and for all the layers that we had on the layer table, we are asked which ones we want to include in the caption. In this case, I'm not going to use WMS layer in the caption. I'm just going to use vulnerability. And we can now see the 4 layers specified before for vulnerability: high, low, medium, very high vulnerability. You can edit it as you like. And now I'm going to insert a scale. Here I choose the icon for the scale, the view framework or frame, the scale type I want to insert. And since I did not specify a scale when I opened the view, I am automatically given 1. But it's advisable to have a scale in round up numbers for interpretation to be easier. Yeah, you just selected.
Para seleccionar, editar.
For selection purposes or editing an element to erase it, you use these buttons here. You can also add text boxes for a title, for instance, for a heading.
Y podemos irlo ya.
And you can fine tune it as you go.
Bueno. No sé si habéis hecho todos un pequeño mapa.
Okay. Any problems? Any doubts? Okay, if there are no doubts, we will continue with the next exercise or practice. We're going to work with raster data. We're going to have an area with cepas and bird protection areas, and we are going to plan for a road to be built. This involves a lot more factors. We may not have time for the whole practice, but it gives us an idea of how things can be calculated in this case. Right, restrictions or limitations. The road cannot go through cepa areas, and another constraint, the slope. You cannot have the road in areas with a slope greater than 30%. We're going to rasterize our layers with leak and cepas. We thought they could be reclassified to determine whether an area is leak or not leak, LIC, And the same can be done with cepas. And we could do the same with the slopes. We can filter out all areas with slopes under 30%. They would be therefore suitable for a road, and the rest can be ruled out. By adding all three layers, we would have the areas where a road would be possible. And then we could continue with geometrical analysis, population analysis, and other factors involved in the planning of a road infrastructure. Okay, let's start with the ZEPAS layers. Let me close the previous view. And now I'm going to install the layers corresponding to LIC and CEPA areas. I will do it first with the CEPA areas. I've done it for the whole of Spain, but I better concentrate on Extremadura for the system to go faster. We would like you to see the difference between vectorial information analysis and raster information analysis, and how you can cross the layers to identify areas meeting both protection requirements and whether or not the road could go through them. The same goes for the slope. We can rule out areas with too high slopes. So basically, we're going to have a layer which will tell us both protection aspects and slope measurements. That will allow us to rule out the areas where a road could not be possible. And that's the difference from the vectorial layer, which is based on attributes, while a raster layer actually says what is being represented. By means of this exercise, we wanted to show you the potential of gvSIG and its analysis through vectors and raster information. Right, here are the two layers. We can open the tables with the attributes, see their codes, and the name of the area. And the name of the element. To shift from vector to raster, we are going to rasterize data. We open Sextanti again. In this section, rasterizing and interpolating, we have the option to rasterize a vector layer. If you open it, you are asked what layer you want to rasterize based on the field. Basically, the system takes each polygon and converts it into a raster layer. In it, each pixel is assigned the element we want to take from the original layer. In this case, we can choose the code or the space. I choose the code, and the result is a georeferenced raster layer. And now, instead of doing it for the whole layer, you can concentrate on the view extension or just use the extension of another layer, of the other layer. And you can also choose between different cell sizes and value ranges. I got an error. So I'm going to load the layer that I created previously. To load a raster layer in versions 1.11, 1.12, you have to select the driver type. Okay, let me continue with the explanation first. For leaks or leak areas, we would do the same. The layer is rasterized. You choose the field you want to display. And once datum is a raster datum, when you click on information, you would be told the associated code or the code associated to that particular polygon for reclassification of the layers. You would go to this section, reclassification of raster layers. And you are asked what layer you want to reclassify. I have no layers now. And the method you are going to use for reclassification, or how you plan on assigning values. A correspondence table is displayed with raster values and the new value you want to allocate. Let me see if you can have a better picture. Did you manage to have the raster layer? Did you get it? Well, that was the objective, to rasterize vector layers. I wanted you to see how the rastering is done, then reclassifying data, and finally to add all layers up. As for the slopes, I am going to see the digital terrain model of IDII. As we did previously, we add a new layer. We have a choice. We can use WMS. we can check the conditions, the slopes in this case. National Geographic Institute, digital models for Spain's terrain. We copy the address here and we press connect. This is the address, www.ign.es, and well, the rest of the address you can see here. And now you are allowed to include the layers for altitude, orientation, and slope. Okay, let's add this one. Slope layer, which is what we want for this particular exercise. We would see all the slopes in this area. Apart from WMS, in the downloading section, we have an area for coverage, WFS and WCS. Now, coverage. Also on the National Geographic Institute, we find the digital models of Spain's terrain. The difference between them is the fact that one only gives you a picture back, an image back, while the other one allows you to access data for downloading. In this case, you add the layer. Instead of selecting WMS, we select WCS. And we then press connect. In this case, data are structured by grid size and the projection of the data. Let me choose this one, slopes at 200 meters. ETRS 89 north. We want it on GeoTIFF format. And we also want to be provided the associated information. I'm going to try with the next version.
Que me ha devuelto un error al hacer la conexión.
Because I got an error and I cannot see this. I pushed on the information button and the value of the layer, and we should obtain a result. What we need now is, once we have achieved the reclassification of all the layers, then we should add all layers, obtain the areas which are common, which are adequate in all of them, and those could be reserved for the road. So then we are going to leave it here. If you have any questions about all those steps, sorry, but we cannot. Yes, you can save the area that you have chosen, and you can work with it. If you see, then you click on layers export, but here you do not have this possibility, so then you can export, and this is that shows that one is giving us the data and the other is not giving us the data, to do filtering, to choose a specific feature.
Puedes generar el mapa. Sí. Sí, sí, tú puedes cargártelo como...
Of course, you can load it. She loaded municipalities and provinces, and in the list you can generate your map.
Bueno, que no haya...
Right, ordinary filtering.
Well, in the simple centering, in which you have the access through the funnel in the toolbox, then you can have all these basic operations. But if you get into the properties of the layer, then you can have access to the field calculator. Through the field calculator, you can you know how many inquiries you can do. You have different types of inquiries. So the calculator is in order to make this more dynamic, isn't it? Any other questions? Exactly the area which is displayed because this is another inquiry with other parameters in the window. Well, the only thing is that it is true that there are many more services in WMS. Any other questions? Anyway, as we mentioned in the exercise guide, which will be posted in a few days in the website, together with the recording of the workshop. And I would like to tell you that if you get into wgmatic.com, you should check it because we are going to open a scientific community where we will be able to do inquiries not only about gvSIG but also about other matters that had to do with this issue. And we will open even a job portal where we will post all the offers that exist, and you can send us any information regarding professional profiles that you need, or anybody that needs professionals to work for them. So here you can get into the mapping journal, and then any doubt that you have about the exercises, you can send us an email, and we will be very happy to solve any doubts you may have. Thank you very much for attending this meeting, and I think the gvSIG meeting is over now.